Hi everybody, everyone that's tuning in. We are doing our live Q&A as we do every week now. So we have Charlie Young on today, and I'll talk you through what we're going to do. Marine scientist, and she's also a science communicator and adventurer. So we're going to run through lots of questions today that we got submitted. We'll do our best to get through as many of them as possible. If you can't stay for the whole Q&A, no worries. We're going to put this on our YouTube afterwards, and the link for that is in our bio. You can also catch all previous Q&As there too. Last week was Jeffrey Garriock, a travel and wildlife photographer, cinematographer, done some really cool work in the Galapagos recently as well, so you can check that out there. And we've had loads of amazing guests. I was actually going through them yesterday, and yeah, got some cool people, so check out our YouTube if you missed any of them. So today, the way this is working is I've rung Jazzy, our marketing manager, and she's actually hosting this from her house in London, and I'm on a WhatsApp call. So if I drop out, the live will continue. Hopefully it won't though, fingers crossed the internet is good, but I am in rural Africa, so bear with me. Jazzy, has Charlie requested to be in the video yet?
I don't see her yet, no.
Okay, no worries. So as we go, you can submit questions for both Charlie and I, if you like. It tends to be a lot of career questions, but we can answer anything as best we can, obviously. She'll also introduce herself and what she does as well when she joins us. Cool.
Hello!
There we go, she's on.
Can you hear me all okay? I've got my headphones in.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Amazing. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's sunny in the UK for the first time in about a couple of weeks, so I'm happy about it.
Nice. Yeah, it's been windy the last 2 weeks, which meant the internet, and we've just finished literally 5 minutes ago a 4-day power cut. So I am over the moon that I can talk to you in lights without a head torch on.
God, 4-day power cut. We have no idea what that's like here, do we?
Yeah, and you always forget how much you rely on electricity. I was always like, I don't need it that much. I can live in the bush. I really like electricity. So,
yes.
I foresaw this. So I always with some pretty battery packs. So I was charging luckily before the power cut.
Well done.
Here we are. The electricity's working. It's already dark here in Mozambique, but the weather's not been amazing. It's been pretty windy. But thank you very much for joining this live Q&A session. It's awesome to have you on.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Explain who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Charlie Young. I'm a marine scientist, diver, presenter, science communicator. A lot of my work has been on plastic pollution. I currently live in Bristol, where I am writing up my research. So I was most recently based out in Saudi Arabia, and out there I was leading research looking at plastic pollution in sediments globally. And so I'm writing up that research at the moment, but then I'm also working for a really cool YouTube channel called Eco Sapien as a presenter and creative. So flexing two of my passions, so science and then the communication side of things.
Nice. And just quickly for your followers that might not know who Love the Oceans is, so we're a marine conservation organisation working in Mozambique. That's where I'm talking to you from, and that's why the internet might be a bit dodgy. Are working to establish a marine protected area. So we do a lot of different areas. But COVID has brought that all to a great. Mozambique is July, which means all the essential businesses have to stop what they're doing. So we have had to stop all of our research, and we've decided to invest our time in our online presence and getting some cool people like you, Charlie, on to our audience and answer questions. So just before we dive right in, would you mind just keeping an eye on the stream of questions and stuff? Everyone feel free to submit questions as we go. Try our best to get through as well, and the ones that are live. But if Charlie, if you can keep it on the screen, just because see that. So feel free to jump in and answer any of those questions at any point.
Okay, will do. I'll keep an eye out.
Perfect, thanks. So if you're good, should we just jump to questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. Okay, so first question, how did you get into what you do now?
So I followed quite a traditional route. So I went to university, I did a degree. I started out doing conservation biology, and it was whilst I was doing my undergraduate that I then specialised in marine science. So I kind of went to uni having a passion for, you know, the natural world, but didn't know exactly where I wanted to specialise. But it was whilst I was doing my degree that I fell in love with the oceans and learned just how underprotected they were. And so I did my dissertation research looking at microplastic pollution in the Severn Estuary. So I was looking in surface waters and sediments. And then after that, I realised that, you know, if you want to be an active scientist, you need to go and get as much experience as you can. So went off to Australia and I worked out there for the best part of 9 months with researchers, getting more, you know, research experience on the ground, going out, doing field work. And again, that work was on plastic pollution and looking at the extent of plastic pollution in Sydney Harbour, and also ways that we could filter microfibers out of effluent water from washing machines. And I guess then to keep moving towards becoming an established scientist, I then decided to go to Glasgow University to do a master's. So I wanted to, I guess, diversify a little bit. So I did my research on the movement of carbon in coral reefs. So another passion of mine is tropical coral reefs. And after that, I had an incredible opportunity to go to Indonesia and lead research looking at the extent of plastic pollution in surface waters with Ocean Geographic. And that was my first, I guess, real big adventure, what gave me a taste for being an explorer, scientist, and someone, you know, that goes off and does these cool trips. And then after that, I disappeared off to Saudi Arabia, of all places, to work as a research assistant. And that was then when I started doing the research that I'm writing up now. And so, yeah, that's up to where I am at the moment. And I guess alongside, so I call myself a science communicator, and that's because throughout my career, I've always been really passionate about, you know, communicating the work that I'm doing. And so I've always used social media, but I guess the moment where I felt really passionate about doing it more was when we went to Indonesia and when I was with the whole Ocean Geographic Society. They wanted to capture, you know, we had Nat Geo photographers there and videographers, and so we produced a documentary on the research that we're doing. You can see that on my YouTube channel, and that is what ignited that part of my career. And since then I've done a lot of science communication through my own channels, and then this has then led me to working with this YouTube channel, Eco Sapien. So yeah, a bit of a mix of science and communication stuff on the side.
Since you mentioned it, I'm just going to skip ahead. We've got a lot of questions that people have submitted, which is awesome. And I did have them in an order, but I'm actually going to skip ahead because you mentioned about your work in Indonesia. I actually watched that documentary earlier today, doing a little bit of research on you for this. So do you want to just tell us a bit more about your work with plastics and what exactly that involved? I'm actually really interested in this because we're going to start a project on this year in Mozambique, but obviously COVID's screwed everything up. But we're similar. So yeah, do you want to explain to our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically we went on a 16-day scientific cruise starting in the Maluku Islands in Ambon and travelled all the way up to the remote parts of Raja Ampat. And basically the objective of the trip was 3 different things. So firstly, my team, I was spearheading the research looking the extent of plastic pollution in surface waters, but then we were also capturing a snapshot of the biodiversity. So we had teams going out and doing fish and coral transects. But yeah, my team was plastics, and essentially what we wanted to answer is, you know, how is this remote and pristine environment impacted by plastic pollution? And so what we did is along our trip, as we were going along, we took surface water trawls. So basically we took this big net, pulled it, and we were basically doing trawls.
Why you went into marine science and becoming a science communicator, what like spurred you to do that? Do you want to just explain that?
Yes. So this is, so I first of all became passionate in marine science through a lecture. I remember going to university, having a passion for the natural world, but not knowing exactly where I wanted to put my efforts. You know, I love the ocean, I grew up next to it, and so I already had that affinity, but I also, you know, loved lots of other things too. And I had this really inspiring lecture where one of our lecturers explained just how underprotected our oceans were, and it just blew my mind about how little protection they have in comparison to terrestrial environments, and how do we enforce or protect? We can't put fences up, we can't man it 24/7, we can have marine protected areas, but how do you actually protect marine life? And I just felt so compelled in that moment that I wanted to be part of, you know, the wave of people really working to try and protect, you know, our oceans. So that's what really pushed me into marine science, and ever since I've been obsessed, because anybody that spends any length of time in the ocean becomes obsessed, because it's amazing. It's just a completely different world. But what then made me want to be a science communicator was, you know, I was doing all this amazing work and reading all this fantastic literature and just thinking, where is it? Where, you know, no one knows about this stuff. And I'm such a big believer that the way that we will protect our oceans is if everybody cares about it, if everybody understands it, if this research is communicated. So the reason I started doing science communication is because I wanted my work to permeate out of that bubble of experts that were an expert on coral reefs or plastics. I wanted it to permeate into the public sphere so that, you know, people could learn about these impacts and be compelled to actually, you know, make a change. If, you know, knowledge is power. And so that's really what gave me the drive to do it. And I think it's truly the way that we'll protect our oceans is by communicating our work and teaching people about them.
Yeah. Great. That's pretty much why I got into it.
Yeah. Yay.
What is the most
hardest part about my job? Is that what you asked? Okay. Hardest part about the job. There's a couple of things that are difficult. I don't think many marine scientists or people that go into marine biology like stats. Stats are horrible. we like the ocean and being in the ocean and diving. Who likes stats? Stats drives me crazy. So that's probably one of the hardest parts. But then I really do want to put this out there. A lot of people think that, you know, as you know, marine biologists, that we spend all our time under the water and it's just so lovely and like, oh yeah, so calm and chill. But doing field work in the ocean is hard. You're often in intense heat. You know, diving multiple times a day is tough. The equipment is heavy. You know, it can be really tiring. And I've come back from days in the field having done 4 dives and lugged around all sorts of equipment and been done hammering and drilling underwater, and I'm absolutely shot. So I think those are the hardest things about it.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the enjoyable part of your job?
Well, obviously spending as much time as possible underwater and getting to see just some incredible things. It's like no other place on this planet. And every time you go in the ocean, you see something incredible. It's just the most magical thing. And being in the sea is it's the only place where I feel like I really become present and everything stops and I just become completely, life becomes about that moment. So that's the best part, seeing incredible wildlife and becoming part of a completely different world. And you really do, you get closer to wildlife than you ever get, I think, in any other, you know, instance throughout the world. So, you know, it's just incredible. But obviously we're both very biased here, aren't we? We're absolutely crazy about the ocean, so this is what we would say.
Yeah, very true. And what would you say is your most memorable?
Well, the most memorable experience that I've had yet with a marine creature has to be last year. I was on holiday with my partner George in Oman, and we were camping about 2k off-road on a beach that we knew was a turtle nesting site. And we'd gone down in the evening to see green sea turtles nesting, and it was amazing and beautiful. And we thought, okay, we'll get up early in the morning and go down to the beach and see if we can find any hatchlings. So anyway, I dragged George out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, and we trundled on down to the beach. And then I'm wandering along, and I sort of look to the centre of the beach, and there's this rocky outcrop, and I think, wow, there's something big. And wait, George, is that a turtle? And there was a massive green sea turtle wedged in between rocks in the middle of the beach. Insane. You know, no coffee or food by this point. We've just woken up, and we basically had to launch a full-blown rescue mission to get her out, because I mean, she was wedged. She had sort of tried to get herself out, but she'd fallen more and more down this crack, and this rock where she had been heaving and breathing, it started to really push into her shell, and so she was completely wedged. Anyway, for the first 15 minutes, we were trying to lift her, but these things weigh so much, and she was the size of me crouched down. And we tried and we tried and we tried, and we just couldn't get her out. And I was starting to lose hope. We were so far off road. We're in the middle of, you know, Oman. You know, we can't speak. I can speak conversational Arabic, but there was no way I could drive somewhere and say, hey, would you like to come and rescue a green sea turtle with us? It's stuck in between some rocks on a beach. And so basically, George had this idea. He said, let's try some wood. And we looked around, there's loads of driftwood all over the beach. And so basically ran over, got a plank of wood, and it was with that sort of leverage that we managed to move her. And we then spent 15 minutes with everything we had getting this turtle out, and we eventually freed her. And honest to God, it was such a surreal moment. We were absolutely exhausted, and then just watching her go back into the ocean, it was just so surreal, and I will never forget it. And I feel so humbled to have had that experience, but I really hope I never have to do that again. I never want to rescue another full-grown green sea turtle again like that. That was so traumatic. I don't want to do it again. But it was amazing, nonetheless, to be so close to an animal that size. It was, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I mean, those things are heavy, so kudos to you guys for managing to move her. But that's, yeah, pretty incredible. Traumatic, but incredible.
Yes.
Nesting turtles, well, I'm not sure I'd call it luck, but and nesting turtles.
Yeah.
We actually have longer heads at the back. We do test, but unfortunately we've been able to have hatching events, which is really unfortunate, but one day.
Yeah.
One day.
Fingers crossed. Soon.
What's your favourite underwater encounter?
Ooh, favourite underwater encounter. Okay, I've got two. It's really hard to pick between them because they were both incredible. It was the first time I'd seen either creature. So both in Rajarampat. If anyone ever gets the chance to go and dive somewhere, you have to do Rajarampat. It's just the best place I've ever dived. We were going along a reef wall, and we've been told that we might see hammerhead sharks in this location. So anyway, you know, knowing I'm quite good at missing things in water. I've had turtles swim right over my head, and I've not even realised they're there. And so we're going along, and then the next thing is I hear that ding, 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 ding. Look around, and coming at us is about 18 scalloped hammerhead sharks, just gracefully swimming towards us. And I just went, oh my God, just started swimming towards them. Not what I'd advise anyone to do. Not that there's, you know, not that you have to be afraid when you're in the water with sharks, really. But still, it was just, I couldn't believe it. You know, just one would have been nice, let alone 18, just gracefully swimming. And then before we knew it, they spooked and they went. And I was like, whoa, they can move so fast. So that was amazing. And then I also had a beautiful moment with a manta. Came out of nowhere, just came and swooped up right in front of me and did their sort of back roll. And the whole time I thought I was filming, but I was just too excited. I hadn't even pressed record, so I was just holding this camera going, oh my God, missed the whole thing. But anyway, someone took a picture of me pretending I was filming this manta.
At least also, and you weren't too fussed about the camera or anything like that.
Yeah.
Bucket list. Like, we get hammerheads here, but not in huge numbers. But I've always wanted to go. I'm hoping to go to Galapagos soon and see the schooling hammerheads.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing! Yes, such a dream.
And on the continuing on the travelling side of things, what's your favourite country that you visited?
It's got to be Indonesia. Indonesia is just so vibrant. There's so much culture and beauty, and I've just never, ever seen, you know, water and coral reefs like it. Raja Ampat just blew me away. I mean, it's like a completely different world, and it's just like wandering into a garden in full bloom, and it's just packed full of life. There's so much going on. And then on land as well, all of the small little islands dotted around, and it's just stunning. And the people as well are beautiful, the most caring and giving people that I've ever met. They'll do anything for you, and the food is also great too. So I'm a big foodie, so you've got the food, you've got the culture, you've got the coral reefs. It's just perfect, and sunshine.
Yeah, I was there in January, and actually what struck me, obviously the diving, I recommend it, all the rest of it, but also the islands, it's so like Jurassic Worldy. It feels like you're in some another world.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It's stunning. It's just unlike anything. You can't quite comprehend it until you see it, and then you see it and you go, wow.
Yeah. No, you haven't been to Mozambique yet, so you know when you.
No, it's true. Africa still is the sort of the place that I've always wanted to go, and it's ironic really because it's been the dream for a long time and I haven't been there yet. So maybe you're a perfect excuse. I'm just going to come now to Mozambique and probably fall in love.
There you go. As soon as the borders open.
Yes, and, as soon as it.
Okay, and then we've got quite a lot around like advice for people, career advice, like that. So someone's asked, in programs that high school students can get involved with. They haven't specified
yeah. So I guess it's kind of hard when you're at a high school level, because of course you're not doing a degree and you don't necessarily have skills that organizations are looking for. So a lot of internships that are offered with organizations already have a prerequisite of you having at least some experience doing certain things. But there are I think this is, we're kind of getting onto a subject of where there's quite a big problem in this industry, that a lot of these opportunities that high school students can get involved in means paying quite a bit of money. You've got things like Operation Wallacea, for example. They do lots of sort of, I guess, conservation expedition trips where you can go and learn specific skills. But again, you have to pay for the experience. So I guess my advice would be that if you're a high school student, look for opportunities that are local to you, and don't underestimate the value of, working with any organization, even if it's not necessarily, maybe you want to work on coral reefs, but you live in the UK, for example. There are still a lot of transferable skills that you can get, working for a local organization, maybe volunteering. And half the time, people just want to see that you're trying. You can only do so much. So what I would say in the UK is, don't be afraid to reach out to organizations that you're interested in. So, sanctuaries, even researchers, see if they might take you out, let you shadow them and do stuff. Like, I personally don't know know of any particular ones that you don't have to pay for. But my big advice would be, don't be afraid to reach out to people, because quite often I found by just emailing someone, they are so helpful, they give you so much advice, and sometimes they've even taken me under their wing and said, actually, I've got this, come do this with me. So that's what I'd say. You don't have to rush off to a tropical place necessarily. Look for opportunities around you that, one, will be cheaper, and two, will probably get you just as much experience.
Yeah, I'd also add to that, you can always get involved with, like, there's so much trash initiatives, like there's so many around the UK.
Yeah.
Marine Conservation Society has loads you can get involved with. It's worth looking up youth days if you are a youngster and you want to get involved, or perhaps you've got a parent watching this and thinking of for their kid. It's worth looking at youth days. I know that my old campus, National Oceanographic Centre, University of Southampton, it's either extremely cheap or free to attend, and you can get out on the research vessel. The idea for them by future scientists involved, because obviously conservation science is definitely an area that needs more people in the current state. But it's worth looking up things like that, and also going to fairs. There's a lot of like fairs where there's like science fairs around quite a lot. Going there, talking to people on the stands and saying like, is there any way I can get involved? I'm this age and I want to do this X, Y, and Z. Having an idea of what interests you is also really helpful. Okay, if you don't, because process of elimination is just as valuable. So you can get involved in one area, decide that you really don't like it, but then at least you don't like that.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you, and those are great advice as well.
Yeah. And someone's asked, what skills do you think are required to become a science communicator?
So I'm a big believer that anybody can be a science communicator. You've just got to, I guess, have a will to do it. We've all got social media at our fingertips now, so everybody has the means to be able to go out and start communicating science. But if you really want to sort of pursue a career in science communication, then you need to show people that you have good, writing skills, that, good literature skills, that, you have an eye for creative writing. Because the thing is, there's quite a big difference between scientific writing and science communication. So like how you would write a post on Instagram, for example, to make it engaging to audiences. So if you're somebody that doesn't have any experience yet, but would like to move into that, use your social media channels as your portfolio. It's your opportunity to show people what you can do, try and build your own channels and communicate the things that you're passionate about. And then you can use that as sort of, proof. Then when you do approach somebody and say, okay, I really want to get an internship in science communication, this is what I can do, because proof is in the pudding, right? You need to be able to show people your skills. So that would be my main advice, is that social media is a fantastic tool that's at your disposal, so use it. In terms of like, if you want to be a science communicator in the marine realm, you don't necessarily have to have a marine science degree. So I was working as an intern at a communications consultancy recently, and the vast majority of people working there didn't actually have a marine science background, but they have a passion for it. And really what they were looking for is just an ability to communicate effectively, with accuracy, precisely, and have a creative flair. So don't be put off if you're somebody that is passionate about the ocean but hasn't necessarily done a degree. That doesn't mean you can't be a science communicator for our oceans.
Yeah, I mean, the world needs communicators, and like, I was going to the world. On that note, useful resource, you can sign up to Science Alert, and they send you new journal articles written every day. Science very regularly, then you can do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there's lots of sites that do. at university to follow a similar career path?
So I'm probably a really good case study here. So I did conservation biology, which isn't a marine biology degree. It's a varied one. We did all sorts of stuff from terrestrial to marine. And so definitely, I think the best thing you can do if you're sure on being a marine biologist is go for a marine degree in some capacity, because ultimately you're going to have a head start on anybody else, because you're going to be getting a specialty in marine science, because all of your modules will be on the oceans. But again, it's the thing is, we change our minds. We're only human. For example, I went to uni doing conservation biology, thought that I might want to actually work in Africa with elephants or something like that, but actually ended up doing marine work. So yeah, I would say definitely do something in the natural sciences. Marine biology is probably your best bet, because, like I say, it will give you the skills in the right area. But things like conservation biology, environmental science, zoology, these are all degrees that have a lot of overlap, and you can specialize later on. So if you do your undergrad in, say, zoology, a master's is a really great way to then really definitively sort of specialize in an area. So, even if you haven't done it for your undergrad, you can specialize more with your masters. So yeah, if you're sure on becoming a marine biologist, go straight down the marine biology line, but don't be afraid as well if you haven't necessarily followed that direct path that you can't go into it.
Yeah, I'd probably also extend that one. So for us, with hiring our staff, we don't just hire marine biologists, we hire zoologists as well. Biologists who've then in something marine biology, conservation biologists, ecologists. There's a lot of different tangents and overlap, as Charlie said, between those courses. I wouldn't doing an undergraduate biology, for example, and you want to go into marine science. That's still very applicable, so don't worry too much. And even if you're doing, so I did marine biology undergrad, I then specified shark fisheries. So even if you do undergrad marine biology, it's still so doing a master's, if you want to do one, can be your opportunity to study a specific area.
Yeah, I agree.
And then just quickly before we move on to the Q&As, the quickfire Q&As, have you got advice for someone that's looking to get into a similar role?
I guess we've discussed a lot of it. So if somebody wanted to do what I do, then that would entail, going to university, getting a degree in some form of natural sciences, continuing on to do a master's. But it's very easy. Anybody could do what I do. If you're somebody that does science already, you can quite easily get on social media and start doing the work that I do.
Can you see, Charlie, has anyone submitted any questions?
Yes, so we've just had a question come through actually, which asks, what are the practical ways we can support ocean conservation during COVID? So that's a really great question actually, because as you're experiencing out in Mozambique at the moment, everything's come to a halt. So I would say practical action that I would advise people is to communicate as much as possible. A lot of people think that just because their social media account doesn't have thousands and thousands of followers that they're not an influencer, but everybody is an influencer, because everybody has a bubble of people around them, be that friends, family, strangers, whoever. And I would argue that, people using their social media accounts to communicate to only a couple of hundred people, probably people they know better, is going to have more impact than maybe I can even have with thousands of followers. So I think a practical thing is for people to communicate conservation issues and try and push for a change at policy level. What do you think, Fran?
Well, I think there's that. There's also actively taking action, signing petitions and getting involved that way. Well.
Yes. I think that's great. Yes, and also, you know, although I am I think individual action is really, really good. So there's a lot of practical action that people can take at home, sort of changing the way that they live. That can have a huge benefit on ocean conservation. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about plastic. Plastic is something that everybody can have, you know, a physical impact over, because you can reduce the amount of plastic that you use. But then also during COVID, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to start discovering our local patches. So quite often, you know, when we dream about the oceans, my mind completely wanders off to tropical parts because they are beautiful. But in this time where we've been confined to a certain area, I've become more and more attached to my local patch. So, you know, maybe if you're lucky enough to live by the coast, this is a perfect opportunity for you to start making, you know, taking practical action in a safe area for you. And that could be getting involved with local surveys, that could be doing beach cleans, that could be, yeah, all sorts of citizen science things that you could be doing. I mean, you can quite easily socially distance and go and do a whale survey on the coast here in the UK if you wanted to. So yeah, maybe it's about trying to focus your efforts locally, and getting involved in projects on your doorstep.
Yeah, I mean, there's you don't even have to do like, I know I say like MCS do beach clean stuff, marine conservation society that join events to do those beach cleans. You can go out on your own, so do riverway cleans, beach cleans. If you're in the city, you can do park cleans, litter picking, all of that kind of stuff really helps. And you can also, there's loads, like as Charlie said with whale surveys, there's a few. Also use this time to educate yourself.
Yes.
What a lot of our team are doing, using it as a time to get more qualifications, as a time to learn more, and like the games you can utilize when things have gone a bit more normal.
Yeah.
Research, when we can get back to people being able to fly, speak.
Yeah.
It's also a really useful tool, I think. But as Charlie said, like making those changes at home, that makes a massive impact. Just in terms of trash tips on that, that it's plastic free July. Should we just jump straight into the quick?
Before it cuts out again, yes. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So those of you that have watched our Q&As before, our audience members that have watched our Q&As before, you'll know that we do a round of quickfire questions with all of our guests. They're just fun questions. Some of them are not ocean related. So I'm just going to run through them now. There's 12 questions. Are you ready, Charlie?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favourite ocean creature?
Orca.
Favourite day of the week?
Friday.
Good choice. Plastic-free eco product that you can't.
Stainless steel razor.
Nice. Favourite beach in the world?
Manabia Beach in Pembrokeshire, where my family live.
Oh, nice. Last song you listened to?
Waves by, oh gosh, what's his name? It goes wave after wave, slowly drifting. I was having a bit of a summer theme.
Okay, next question. Dolphins or sharks?
Sharks.
Nice. Favourite holiday?
Had to be going to Raja Ampat, Indonesia. Although, I mean, not technically a holiday, but it was great.
Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to speak to animals?
Speak to animals. That would be amazing. I'd love that. Yeah.
As a station or breathing underwater?
Breathing underwater any day. Take me now. Give that to me. I'd love that. Does that exist?
Well, we're getting close to it with rebreathers, so you never know.
Yeah, true.
Onto a desert island with you?
Adventures of a Young Naturalist by David Attenborough. It's just such a dreamy read. I loved it. I don't want to read it again and again.
Nice, good choice. And the first thing you're going to do when things get back to normal with beach marks?
Oh, probably, yeah, go diving with sharks in the UK.
Blue sharks in the UK. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. And last question, why do you love the oceans?
I love the ocean because there's no other place like it. It's the only place where everything becomes about that moment. It's completely calming and just everything stops. Just, yeah, there's nowhere else that I feel more present. There's something so magical about it.
Nice, good answer. Okay, thanks so much for your patience today.
Yay!
Before we end, do you have anything you want to say to the audience? Any upcoming projects you want to tell us about? Or anything like that, feel free to take the floor.
Yes. So basically, with Eco Sapien, the YouTube channel that I am currently working for, we have just collaborated with a great conservation charity called Shark Guardian. And we're basically at the moment really trying to push a petition to get the ban of shark fins being imported into the UK debated in Parliament. So if you are based in the UK and watching this, please head to the link in my bio and please sign the petition and share it far and wide. We've got 2 months to get to 100,000 signatures so this gets debated. So please do that. And yes, if anybody wants to follow me, please follow me on YouTube. I'm launching next month into a whole month of what I'm calling Saltwater Britain, where I'm going to be going off on lots of amazing adventures around the UK to discover marine wildlife. I'm going to be making lots of awesome videos about it. So please tune in to learn a little bit about the incredible marine wildlife that we have here. And I'm also going to be, teaching people about how they can help protect it.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting. And for everyone watching this live, on the top left corner, and you will see Charlie's handle on Instagram. Please go follow her. And you'll also see our handle on Instagram, so you can follow us too. We obviously are not getting out and doing as much research and community work as we would like to right now, but we are running this Q&A series every Thursday, 7 p.m. BST, with a huge host of guests. So we've had the lovely Charlie on today, a marine scientist, and obviously as a science organisation, we do science focused and conservation focused, but we have people coming from different backgrounds to discuss different aspects of conservation. So we've had marine scientists, filmmakers, we've had one of the guys who filmed Blue Planet 2. We're going to have one of the other BBC film cameramen on soon. We've had musicians and authors and artists and activists. Extinction Rebellion were on before, so you can check that all out. If you didn't see all of this live, or you want to watch it again without the buffering, then you'll be able to do that on our YouTube afterwards, and that will be click on our Q&A series there. You can also see all the previous guests there, so do check that out. And yeah, we will update you on any progress on our Instagram. So if you give us a follow, we will be updating, and our Facebook and Twitter and stuff will be updating on any research that we do get done this year. But obviously everything is much slower, so we are focusing on present useful information and content for you guys. So much for joining today, Charlie, and I really appreciate your patience. I know it's really frustrating when technology doesn't agree with us.
It's so, it's just so typical though. I feel like everyone in lockdown has experienced the extent of internet issues. So I think everyone realizes now that, it's just, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, very frustrating. But thank you. Have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you, you too. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Take care.
Bye.